Alright everyone, this is Nigel Higdon, and I'm going to be doing my first, well not my first, my first Theros draft video. And I'm kind of doing these early in order to let you guys get a feel for the learning curve of how someone learns a format. And it's more fun when the format's not figured out, so people make interesting choices that are compelling, and people like to talk about them and stuff. If you notice, I'm using the new client because I have this cool laptop, and it doesn't like the old client at all. It actually was crashing a lot. So I may have some trouble adjusting. See, like this, I have to adjust this a little bit on the fly to let you see everything. You may also hear Bioshock Infinite in the background, but that's okay. It's a sweet game. So looking at this pack, we have a rare. I mean, it can be really good, I guess. It's not a card I'd want to first pick. This is pretty sweet. It goes in a number of different decks. One targeting, it makes it awesome. One thing to note in this format as we go through the cards is, like, look at the two heroic guys first, is that this format is not about just having a collection of good cards. It's about having a philosophy when it comes to deck building, like wanting to do a specific thing. There are just powerful cards like Voyages, which are more powerful than normal because of monstrous and heroic and all that stuff. So give me our actual choices because we have 20 seconds left. I don't think you want to first pick this. Centaur Battlemaster is an option. This is just very powerful in general, and then there's Voyage's End. I know that there's four pretty good green cards, and I don't really care about the signals you send all that much. I think I would take this if this was not here, but I think I'm just going to take the Dauntless Onslaught and run with it and see what happens. Just note that I passed, a Voyage's End and a bunch of good green cards. I like white-red a lot in this format. Looks like kind of cool. You can actually see who's passing you and stuff. Looks like Jun 616 took a rare. Yeah. So let's look at this pack. The cards I'm looking at are Lightning Strike's obviously very good. It rarely gets passed in this format. And beyond that, I mean, to go with my first pick, not a lot. These cards are not great. This goes in like a slower deck that's okay, and this is fine, but not spectacular. I think I'm probably going to end up going with Lightning Strike. Yeah, that's really it. There's really not a lot to say about this package. I'm just going to take it, actually. Not a lot of decisions there. All right, some real, not really decisions, but interesting things to note. There's a Leaf Crown Dry, which is fine. An Erebos' Emissary, which is very good. Like another Marauder and a Freakish Mender. Black looks to be open, but not like the kind of black control deck that the Disciple of Phoenix, or whatever his name is, the guy that coercions your opponent, and the Grey Merchant and Asphodel decks are based around. It's more of these are more the aggressive black cards. Like these would go in black-red more likely, or maybe like a black-green deck that has large creatures to finish the game. We're looking at God's Willing. God's Willing is actually unbelievable. It's like a 1-mana counterspell, or a 1-mana get your guy through, or a 1-mana win combat. I mean, it just does so many things. And you get to scry 1. It's super awesome, and despite the fact I'm a little worried that I'm not really getting much past to me, I might have to switch colors. Like, God's Willing is, it's worth staying on this train for. We have no guys yet, which is kind of a problem, so we're going to have to pick up some guys real soon or switch colors. But that's okay. Ooh, we got one. Looking in general, this is really the only card I consider taking. Its bestow cost is right on curve with some of the better heroic guys, especially in green, like Centaur or Staunch-Hearted Warrior. Yeah, Staunch-Hearted Warrior, and it's just like a solid card. This is not that great. There's not really all that many humans, and you don't really want to pay a card for this kind of effect. I would like to note that like Sedge Scorpion is actually pretty playable in the grindier decks. It's like a weird removal spell. If you guys remember playing Typhoid Rats? Yeah, Typhoid Rats in Innistrad Black, even in a format as aggressive as that one, and this format's aggressive as well. It found a home in some decks. Other than that, we're not really getting a lot, so we're gonna have to hope our pack 2 is pretty good. Oh, I was gonna say if we don't get a red card in this pack, we might have to start moving on. But there's some interesting choices here. There's this guy, who I actually haven't played yet. Apparently he's good, but I'm not super excited about him. Putting a bunch of 1/1s in play is okay, but how many are you really going to put in play with like this guy if you're not already winning? Like 4? you put like 7 in play, you're obviously already crushing your opponent. That leaves us looking at some red cards. There's a bad 2-drop, which we will want to fill out a curve later. This guy's really good. Doesn't necessarily... We really need guys, but the removal's so scarce. I think we're going to end up taking Magma Jet. I've actually heard that this card is not as good as Lightning Strike, despite the Scry 2, but I just watched Ben Stark's Pro Tour draft, the first draft, and he took Jet over Strike, pick 2. So maybe he's right, because he's the Hall of Famer. Moving on to the next pack. Oh, good. We're still getting... I feel like we're barely hanging on by a thread, but we're still getting picks, so that's wonderful. This card's part of a cycle for up to 2 target creatures get some sort of effect with Triton Tactics and Dauntless Onslaught and other cards of that ilk. This is kind of expensive, and it doesn't really fit what black wants to do most of the time, unless you're paired with green. Just a side note. Sideboard card, bad card we already talked about. People love playing this card. It's terrible. We're just going to take Spear Point. Not a lot else to say. We already talked about the other potential cards. Alright, another black card, jeez. Black's very open. But that's good because usually black is paired with green or blue in this format in most cases, especially the kind of black cards we're passing, the brand. And that leaves us open to have a good pack 2 with red and white cards. We're going to take Titan Strength. It's not great. It's very good with some cards. It's very good with the 2-headed Cerberus, a 1/2 double striker that goes late because it's double red in its cost, and it's very good with any of the +1/+1 heroic guys. Other than that, though, it doesn't really. It's no giant growth. Let's just put it that way. It doesn't win combat as often as you might think. I just don't like this card. I won't play it if I can avoid it. I mean, I played over like Demolish, of course, but this guy's not exceptional. But if we do pick up an Ordeal or 2, it can be very important to have 1-drops. And if you pick up, like, let's say Dragon's Mantle, which is like a very high pick red card actually, or even Chosen of Heliod or whatever, we can crank out some free 1/1s while replacing the card that we spent, so that's really good. Other than that, you probably won't want to target him with a whole lot. All right, looking here, getting down to the dregs. Maybe I will take this guy. I don't like him, but I'd almost rather just take Sable. Just because he's a 2-drop, and we're a little short on guys, and he's an embarrassing 2-drop, but actually we're going to take him. He is what he is. All right, so we have ability to splash. Our removal spell that it's really good in some decks. It's not very good in ours because we're kind of wanting to attack. We have a relatively aggressive deck, and the threaten, which is what we're going to actually take. This blowing up all the cards. You guys can take a look at them real quick before I take them. This card's really important to winning when your deck is not good. Here we'll just take a null because it sucks to get blown out, when you spend 5 mana for your spell. Take our 2-drop. Be happy about it. Oh my lord. That is fortunate. That's a good sign for us. Instead of this 2-drop, which we don't really want to play because he's not really great with Ordeals because of his 1 toughness, we're going to take Cyclops and be very, very happy. Yeah, this is outside shot. We play this guy who... You get into like a weird situation where you're racing, it can be very good. So that was really great. We got a lot of cards for our deck. A lot of potential cards. Boy, this is a pretty good pack. I mean, without having bombs, this is a pretty good pack 1. Oh, this almost qualifies as a bomb. It's got to be like, in the limited resources vein of analysis, like a B+. So going into pack 2, it's not really what we're looking for. This is also not what we're looking for. Boy. Well, it's going to be just kind of, we're going to scrape by because there's not a white card to be had. We're going to just kind of do what we can. This card's Stone Shock Giant's a card that I initially thought was unreal because I thought the format was a lot slower than it is. 8 mana is a lot to monstrosity, even if you pretty much win the game when you do it. A deck, and red-white in particular, doesn't want it. Red-green that has like the 1/4 uncommon that taps for green mana equal to devotion to green, and Voyager Satyr and other acceleration spells, like that's the deck that's going to want this, or maybe a real slow deck. We're just going to probably take another Ill-Tempered Cyclops because it is a solid card. Gives us something to do with our mana later in the game. We're going to keep an eye out for this to come back. This is actually a pretty good card if we have an aggressive deck. Have some more deals and or some tricks, or like a Phalanx Leader, and then like later in the game we can use it as weird removal for our opponent's enchantment creatures. So we're just going to take L Cyclops. We'll probably get our choice of these two when the pack comes around. Okay, so well we have our choice of... Boy, we don't have a lot going on. And we have a good deck, but We really need a couple of guys, heroic guys, to kind of be the centerpiece of our decks. This card's pretty good in a slower deck. Jeez. I don't know if I don't think we can take it though, especially given all the, like how open black was. Like we're not liable to get a lot more. We'll be giving up a lot of value either way, you know, or a lot of picks. I think I'm going to take Dragon Mantle here. This card's oddly good. Replaces itself, allows essentially any idiot to trade up as high on the curve as you want, and can trigger heroic, assuming we actually ever get some heroic guys. It's better than this by a pretty large. Oh, that's an ordeal, not a chosen. That might change things. I thought this was chosen by Heliod. Boy. I think I'm going to take the ordeal. That's kind of what these decks are centered around. And they're very good. You know, we don't have any yet, but any of the guys that get +1/+1 counters, like Hoplite or the Wingsteed Rider, the Dragon Mantle has a chance to come back. I hope it does. Boy, this guy's really good too. Well, we're stuck picking. Yeah, this card's really not the worst. It's not very good in our deck though, because we don't have a lot of ways to make our guys big. I don't really want to take this guy. I don't particularly like Minotaur Skullcleaver. It's fine. I like the black-red deck that's very aggressive, but doesn't have a lot of like synergies. And maybe like you'll have a couple like a Minotaur Lord or the black-red uncommon guy. Yeah, I think it's just going to be Hopeful Eidolon. This is a card we can consider to, you know, like maybe take when it comes back. It doesn't do a lot, but it's good in the right match. It's probably pretty good against us, actually. And this is just very, very expensive. We don't really want to play a 6-drop. We really don't want to play this 5-drop if we can avoid it. Most of the red-white decks that I've played have been 16 or 15 lands and don't feature anything above 4 on the curve. So we're just going to take the Eidolon and see what happens. Interesting. Another Nimbus Naiad. Well, Gift of Immortality is a card that I actually hate. I don't think it does anything. I mean, you can use it just to trigger heroic, but like, is it really that? It's not even that good. It does because it only triggers on the first time the spell is cast. Whenever the card comes, whenever you reattach Gift of Immortality at the end step, it doesn't trigger anything. It just sits there. So yeah, it's an infinite blocker, and it can be hard to remove the creature. But we don't even have a creature that we really care about. I guess this, but then we'd have to invest another 6 mana into it if we want to monstrous and make it useful. So we're going to pass on that. So our options basically are Bear, Two-Headed Cerberus, which is pretty good, and Arena Athlete, which is also pretty good. I think given the chance that the Cerberus can come back, and there might be more of them, and this is an uncommon, I actually haven't really played it yet, I'm going to go with the Athlete. It's a little more aggressive, and we don't have any mantles yet to make the Cerberus good, although we do have a Titan Strength. Okay, what's this do? This essentially makes creatures unblockable. I don't think this card's actually that bad. I'm not going to make decks very often, but man, this is the 3rd one of those in a row. That is something else. This guy's okay. He'll gain you 3 life sometimes. He's like Centaur Healer minus. I just don't really like him. You know, he's got a 1 point of toughness less, and you only sometimes gain the 3 life. And this is not a deck that really cares about its life total all that much. So our choices are the Prowler's Helm, which I've never tried, or the Priest of Iris, whatever. We only have 1 Ordeal, and no Phalanx Leader or anything of that sort. So I think I might actually try the Prowler's Helm here. I don't think it can be that bad, can it? I guess then again we have these Cyclopses and stuff, and God's Willing. I lied. I'm going to take the Priest. I'll leave Prowler's Helm for another day. My goodness, that is a late Voyage's End. Blue is so open in this pack, but I guess we just couldn't see it. Well, this might be the deck to try this guy out, even though he's a 6-drop. We hate him. Wild Celebrance is, I mean, it is what it is. It's a 5/3 for 5. Hopefully we can make our guys that big or bigger and better using these cards. So we don't have to worry about that. And just this guy's just better than him straight up. And there's nothing else in the pack unless you just want to hate the Voyages in, which I'm not doing. So I think I'm going to take this guy and just kind of see what happens. I don't know how good it can be to put a bunch of 1/1s into play. It doesn't seem all that great in this format, but I guess we'll find out together. Well, this is pretty good. We have, what's Scry's? God's Willing, Titan Strength. That's just 2 cards so far, I think. It's better in a red-blue deck, but it's a solid 3-drop. It's a 2/3 straight up, and it presents like this strange, like, you know, like you just attack with it, or attack with it, and another guy, and your opponent's like, well, what if he Titan Strength to one guy, Scries, and then gets +2/+2 on first strike and just crushes me? So we'll just take it for the fear factor. Oh, look at that. There's a Scry card. So we have 13 guys, including these two idiots. So we have really 11 guys, and really 9 guys if you think about it in terms of, or 8 guys in terms of these guys not really being creatures. I'm not going to take a bear though. I just not like when I could take a Titan Strength, which is again only an average card, but this format's interesting. The red white deck is especially interesting. You can like just use it on this and get in there for 5, or you can use it on a Cerberus, which we're hopefully going to get. I think it's the next pack, right? Hopefully we're going to get a Cerberus. Oh, well, we didn't. Anyway, we get another one of these guys, which is okay. Or we could take that guy. We don't really have a lot of good ways to target that don't replace themselves, but I think more than one of those is kind of weak, so we'll run it. We get a bad 2-drop. The Spark Jolt, that's like awesome against us. We could have taken the Prowler's Helm again. Oh wow, the Cerberus was this late. Okay, well we'll be happy about that. We're very happy actually. All the tricks we have and like the ways we can get him through. Ooh, we got a Yoki. Okay, let's move some of this stuff away. Make this a little bigger. Can we make these bigger? There we go. Still working out the bugs on this thing. So I kind of like what we have going on here. I like a couple of the replacement of the cantripping enchantments or deals really to round out our deck. And I think we're actually pretty good. Then we can cut some of this chaff up here, which we don't want anyway. Yeah, we have a lot of weird guys. We can move that. This is, we'll leave it in the main deck for now, but stuff like this is where what we're going to want to really move away from. Because it's just not good. But again, leaving it here for the time being. We open. Hey, look at that. We'll open one of the most expensive cards in the set that happens to be on color. I'm pretty happy. If that wasn't here, wow, this guy's really nuts too. Master of Diversion didn't really, we really didn't get to see how awesome Master of Diversion was in M14 draft, just because of the nature of the format. But this format, man, this format, Master of Diversion would be very happy. He would make more money in this format than the last. And this is just a bigger, better version that you can that has modal that has different modes. Anyway, before we DC by accident, we're gonna take Stormbreath Dragon. Haha. I guess we're okay with playing this 5-drop because it's unbelievable. Oh man. Well, the draft's coming together. There's another Dauntless Onslaught, which is really, really good. But this card, especially with some of the Crusaders and this Evangel and all this other stuff we've got going on, can do so much work. It makes your opponent impossible. It's impossible for your opponent to block with this card in play. And yeah, you can just kill it, but there's actually not many things that really just straight up kill it. Your opponent usually has to do a lot of work or spend mana on awkward turns. A lot of times they'll end up using a 5-mana spell to kill this guy after it's pumped your team at least once. And that's like huge value. And obviously this isn't coming back, but we'll be happy with our Phalanx Leader. So now, now we can start to actually make some cuts. We don't want to play that card, it sucks. We don't really want to play this card either, if we can avoid it. We don't really want to play that. And I don't think we actually want to play this main. We've got two drops. So we're looking at these 24 cards that we have to basically... We're going to play 16 land in this deck. Every card we put in, we're going to have to take a card out, basically. And I'm looking at Dragon's Mantle, which is excellent. There's an Ordeal, it's good. These are, fine. Spark Jolt. But we're already pretty well locked in. This is not really a card in this deck. You don't care about your life total. Maybe in white-blue, there's some sort of weird, white-blue deck that likes this. Last Breath again, removal but not